This video is going to be slightly different from what I usually do. This video is a deck tech video on Tom Bombadil. If you don't know who Tom Bombadil, Wizards of the Coast and Lord of the Rings are doing kind of a mix-up set where they are making characters from Lord of the Rings as magic cards, one of them being Tom Bombadil. Now, I was recording this, the set's not out and it won't be out for a while. However, they have released some of the cards. So this deck tech is on Tom Bombadil. But the reason it's slightly different from what I usually do is I'm not doing this alone. This is my first ever collab video. So there's another Magic the Gathering content creator called Caprinic Tutor. They make a lot of videos talking about Magic the Gathering and stuff like that, and I decided to reach out and be like, hey, want to help me out with this deck, and we will work together and build it. And here is the video. And if you like Magic the Gathering content, give them a follow. All the links will be down below. So when it comes to this deck tech, March of the Machines is not out or just about be out, so we're not using any of them cards. Everything's kind of from All Will Be One backwards until we can do it. When we worked together on this, we made a Mox field, so if you want to see the full deck in its entirety, it's down also linked below. It was really fun to do. I'm really happy, so let's get on to the video.
Hey y'all, I'm Caprinic Tutor, and the commander for this deck is Tom Bombadil. So I'm a huge fan of Lord of the Rings, so I really love that they added Tom Bombadil because he's one of my favorite characters. And in the stories, he's like all about just hanging out and chilling with his wife and telling stories and helping wayward travelers. So this feels really on brand for him. So the way Tom's card works in Magic is he is a 5-color legendary creature. He also works off of Sagas. So whenever you play a Saga, it gets a counter on it and it like stacks up. Well, Tom gains Hexproof and Indestructible every time you control Sagas with 4 or more counters on them. So that's a really good way to protect him. He basically protects himself from things like board wipes and kill spells. He also has the added bonus of whenever a Saga resolves once per turn, you just get a free Saga from the top of your deck and you get to put it on the battlefield for free. So not only is he protecting himself, he also encourages you to play a lot of Sagas. So I really love the design of this card, and I feel like it really fits with the character that it's designed for.
So when it comes to Planeswalkers in this deck, there wasn't really many to choose from. However, we decided to put 3 in, and those 3 are Calix Destiny's Hand, Estrid the Masked, Venser the Sojourner. The reason we picked these 3 Planeswalkers, mainly because Calix is good at getting the enchantments and sagas into our hand, because if you haven't guessed, spoiler alert, this is a very enchantment heavy deck when it comes to enchantment creatures, and sagas also included. The next one is Estrid, who is really good at just rather if you get to ult her, you get all your sagas back and stuff like that, and she's really good at giving the creatures, or the enchantment creatures, kind of like pseudo vigilance, so then you get to attack and still use their abilities, which is really good. And then finally Venser, which I actually had to ask a judge this. His +1 lets you pretty much reset sagas, which is a big thing in this deck, and it's really good because if you're about to run out, you literally just plus, boom, get a reset. So this is why these 3 Planeswalkers are in this deck.
So now let's move on to creatures. For this deck, we have a couple different types of creatures we want to use, but they're going to be similar to stuff you would see in a lot of enchantment decks, like Sithis, the Herald's Hand, for instance, which lets you draw a card and gain a life every time you play an enchantment. You're also going to want to have stuff that are like mana dorks, so you can tap them for mana, and anything that you can use for graveyard recursion, because Tom himself does not have a way of getting your sagas out of the grave. He just plays them from your deck. So once they're in the grave, you need a way to get them back because you're going to want to repeat some of these sagas as many times as possible. So for our first creature type, which is the draw power creature type, we're going to have stuff like Verduran Enchantress, Eidolon of Blossoms, and Sithis, Herald's Hand. Again, these are all draw power, so every time you play an enchantment or an enchantment enters the battlefield under your side of the battlefield, you just draw a card. So you want to keep your hand full, and these are the kind of creatures you're going to be using to do that.
And next we have creatures that help with ramp. The main reason we need ramp in this deck is that it is a Wooburg deck. So it's very difficult at the start of the game to get kind of your lands and good in order to get all 5 colors to be able to play Tom Bombadil as fast as possible. When it comes to those ramp creatures, here's 3 on screen. Faber or Elder, Sanctum Weaver, Dryad of the Lyncian Grove. These are really good mana dogs or creatures that help you get lands, to be able to play lands, or to be able to play more lands, so you can ramp faster, to get Wooburg faster, to get Tom Bombadil out faster, to then be able to produce and get your deck popping off as fast as possible.
So our third creature type is going to be Graveyard Recursion. This is going to be stuff that lets you pull your different permanents and things out of your grave and then replay them. So as you know, Sagas, when they resolve, they go to the grave and you remove all the counters. This is great because you get their final ability, but it also makes it less likely that Tom is going to be indestructible and have hexproof. So we want to have a way to get those Sagas back. And the way we do that is with creatures like Hannah, Ship's Navigator, Satsuki, the Living Lore, and then Muldrotha, the Gravetide. All of these allow us to pull our Sagas and pull our different enchantments and things back into either our hand or to the battlefield, so we can continue the cycle, we can protect Tom, and we can get all those really good Saga bonus effects.
And then finally, when it comes to creatures, we have creatures that make enchantments cheaper, because again, with the ramp, really good to kind of go ahead, but it's even better to make the enchantments cheaper so you're able to play more. And the three are Junkai Naturalist, Herald of the Pantheon, Umori the Collector.
So now let's move on to sorceries. So similar to some of the creatures we have, like Hannah, we want some type of graveyard recursion or an ability to get things back from the grave in this deck, because obviously it's a commander deck, board wipes are super common. The best things for this deck are stuff like Triumphant Reckoning, Brilliant Restoration, and then Eerie Ultimatum, because these all allow you to do a one-sided restoration. So basically you're just pulling all of your enchantments and no one else gets anything. You just get all your enchantments back onto the field, which includes all your Sagas and, quite frankly, a lot of your creatures. So these are the kind of things we're going to put in there. There's other options as well, and we've listed some on the Moxfield deck list, but go ahead and play around with those. These are the ones that we went ahead and chose for this.
So with Commander being 100 cards and there being a lot of Sagas in this, people are going to have favorite Sagas that they want to play. So, Tutors. There is 3 Tutors in this deck that are absolutely amazing when it comes to getting the Sagas you need or want, and here they are on screen. Conflux, Plea of Guidance, Demonic Tutor.
Our final sorcery type is going to be board wipes, because what commander deck doesn't have at least a couple board wipes in it? For these, we chose stuff like Extinguish All Hope, which only targets non-enchantments, so almost everything that you have is going to be completely protected. And then Tom, typically you're going to have an indestructible on him because you have enough Saga counters, so he usually doesn't get hit by this, but in some situations you might actually have to kill Tom, unfortunately. And then Ruinous Ultimatum, which is, again, it's a one-sided board wipe, so you don't get affected, but everyone else does. So these are both really good options in this deck, because at the end of the day, board wipes are great, but if you can make them not hit you, they're even better.
When it comes to instances, there is 4 in total, 2 sets of 2. One is to kind of protect the cards and protect your commander and the creatures in the deck, and the other one being for more tutors to be able to get the Sagas you want early. So I'm going to be talking about the ones that help protect kind of your side of the field, and they are Akroma's Will, Teferi's Protection. These are great if someone kind of all outs you and you need blockers, but you still want to keep them alive, or if someone board wipes, you're able to pretty much save your entire board, because having all the opponents on the field as long as possible helps make the deck the best it can be.
So now that we've talked about protecting your creatures, we also want to be able to have a way to get specific Sagas. So maybe we need to get the Kami War out because we need to get rid of a really annoying permanent and exile it. So we're going to put some tutors in this deck. Now you can technically put any tutor in here and most of them will work pretty well because it is a 5-color deck. But the ones that we think are probably the best options are going to be Enlightened Tutor and Vampiric Tutor. They're both super cheap, and then they can both search for just about anything in the deck, because almost everything in your deck is going to be enchantments, and then Vampiric Tutor searches for anything. So you're good either way.
When it comes to the artifacts in this deck, we've put it into 2 sections, one being ramp and then one being kind of copy abilities. So ramp's kind of very easy to get, or easy to talk about when it comes to these videos, like the classic Soul Ring and stuff like that. However, there was 3 I wanted to put as the interest, and here they are on screen. The Great Henge, Chromatic Ori, Timeless Lotus.
So one thing that we thought about when we were making this deck is how do we get Tom's triggered ability to trigger more than once a turn? And the answer is artifacts. So there's a few different artifacts in Magic the Gathering that allow you to copy triggered abilities. The first, most obvious one everyone's probably thinking is Strionic Resonator. It's a really good one. It's only 2 mana, and then you get to copy a triggered ability. So with Tom, you'd get 2 Sagas instead of 1 every time one resolved. But again, you'd only get 2 per turn instead of 1 per turn. So it's not the most broken. It's just 2 free Sagas. But then we also thought Lithoform Engine is a really good one because not only can this copy triggered abilities, it can straight up just copy your sagas. So you can get 2 copies of the same saga just by paying the mana on Lithoform Engine. So really, really good options in this deck because you're going to want to be putting those sagas on the field and then getting them to trigger as many times as possible.
Now we're on the main part of the deck, which is enchantments. When it comes to the enchantments, there's 20 in total, but 5 of them are not sagas. So here are at least 2 enchantments that I really enjoy that are in the deck that are not sagas, and here they are. Whirlwind of Thought, Enchantress Presence.
So you might be thinking, we've talked about all these other things, what about the enchantments? This is an enchantment deck, right? So let's talk about the enchantments. We have a lot of really good enchantments for this deck. Some things that can be really fun are things like Maelstrom Nexus, which lets you cascade whenever you cast things. So that's a really good one. So that can get you free sagas, free creatures, whatever. Omniscience is a really good one. Pretty much you get Omniscience on the field, then you're playing enchantments, you're drawing cards from your creatures. You pretty much just have the game on lock at that point. And then stuff like Privileged Position, which allows you to defend and protect all of your different enchantments and things like that. So you're going to want a bunch of different types of enchantments in here aside from your sagas, but those are some that are really, really good at either helping you win the game with stuff like Omniscience or giving you really good bonuses like Maelstrom Nexus, and then also protection from things like Privileged Position.
Since there's now a total of 15 sagas in the deck, I didn't really know how to break this down, and neither did Caprinic Tutor, so we decided just to go, what's our 3 favorite? So my 3 favorite are The Eldest Reborn, the Horus Hennessy, Battle of Frost and Fire.
So my top 3 sagas personally are going to be Song of Freyalise because it's cheap, it gives you extra mana, and then it also gives all your stuff indestructible for a turn, which can be super useful. The Kami War, which allows you to exile a big threat as well as gain stuff back from your own grave. And then Kiora Best the Sea God, which is really good because you get a big Kraken creature right off the bat, and then you also get to steal from your opponents any of the really big threats that they have. So by far, those are my top 3 favorite sagas because they all have multiple really good effects bundled together.
When it comes to the lands, there's 32 in total. However, talking about all 32 lands is going to be very difficult. So we're doing the same thing as we've done with sagas and just picked our 3 favorite lands. So here are my 3 favorite lands. Reliquary Tower, Mana Conflux, Plaza of Heroes.
As for my favorite lands are going to be the World Tree because it allows you to get all of the different colored mana you need because it turns all of your lands into literally any color. Urza Saga because not only is it a land, it's a saga and it allows you to pull things. So if you have things like Mana Crypt or Mox Amber or something in your library, you can go ahead and pull those with Urza Saga. And then Thespian Stage, because Thespian Stage is just a really fun land that allows you to copy other lands. So if you have something like Mana Confluence and you maybe need another one, or if you wanted a second World Tree for whatever reason, you can go ahead and get that. So really, really good lands in my opinion. And they're pretty universal for any 5-color decks.
So now that this deck tech is done, let us know what cards you would have put in this deck in the comments down below. Also, if you have seen this deck entirely, it will be linked down below. Let us know what you think of the deck as a total. I want to give a special thank you to Caprinic Tutor for helping me collab with this. It's my first ever collab. I hope people like it, and I really did enjoy kind of working together with someone for the first time and editing a video together. It's very exciting. I would love to do more stuff like this, and hopefully we get to do another one again. But as always, remember to like and subscribe and follow us on all our social media. All my social media will be linked down below, and same with Caprinic Tutor stuff. They are really good at what they do. Please go give them a follow if you like Magic the Gathering stuff. Also, if you like this video, I have 5 ways to make you better at Magic the Gathering here, a playlist of other deck techs I've done here, and then a subscribe button here, and also there will be a link to Caprinic Tutors YouTube also down below, so please go give them a follow. And I will see you in the next video.